and welcome once again to Spoiled, the only place on the internet where you can get my opinion and my lovely wife's opinion about movies that we go see. You can't get that anywhere else, ladies and gentlemen, except for right here. So you have tuned to the right station. Hey, I'm Enosh, a.k.a. Enosh Fett, and of course with me as always...
Tifftastic or Grand Tiff Tarkin.
That's right, the lovely Tiffany is with us today. And so today we're going to talk about a movie, Tiffany, that we saw this weekend, that just came out, that we are really excited about, and we were excited to see. And what is that movie?
That is X-Men Apocalypse.
That's right, Apocalypse. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who, it seems these X-Men movies have kind of become the stepchildren to superhero movies. And rightfully so a lot of times, because they have been jostled a little back and forth.
Telling us which ones actually matter now and which ones don't.
Yeah, and so, there's been good ones, there's been alright ones, there's been really, really good ones, and then there's been a couple that, weren't so great. And, but hey, this movie sets out, I think, to retrofit some of those, retcon some of those mistakes that were made in the past, and hopefully bring it up to speed. And so if you have seen the movie, hey, great, we're going to sit here and talk about the movie just as if we had all gone to see it together. You sat right there and you had your buttered popcorn and your big old Coca-Cola right there along with us. If not, then you may want to wait until you see the movie, unless, of course, you want to be spoiled. That's the whole name of the movie. So, we're going to jump right into it. Tiffany.
Yes.
What were your expectations going into this movie?
I actually didn't know what to expect, and I came out very pleasantly surprised and very happy with the outcome, and I feel that they set them up for the next movies to do as much or as many as they want.
Now, I'll be honest with you, I went into this movie, I've still been very much on the fence when it comes to X-Men movies. I love them. I absolutely love them. I own all of them. X-Men: The Last Stand, I'm pretty much on the same side as everybody to say I'm not as bad on it as a lot of people are to say it's an atrocity, it's horrible, it's awful. It's just not as good, I think, as some of the other ones. Yes. Personally, my favorite X-Men movie is X-Men First Class. Yeah. Which I find to be very, very funny, because when I went in to go see X-Men First Class, I told you, I said, I'm probably not going to like this movie at all. Yeah, it's got Kevin Bacon, really, in an X-Men movie. German. But I went in there, and I just, honestly, I didn't think that I was going to like that movie at all. And I came out going, wow, this is probably this is the best X-Men movie up to that point. And I still have to say that X-Men First Class is my favorite X-Men movie. It is. What's your favorite X-Men movie?
I was actually going to say X-Men First Class, because as much as I love the actors that have played the different parts, I wasn't crazy about Storm being played by...
Oh, Halle Berry.
Yes.
I thought you were talking about the new girl, who I have no idea. That's why I was looking like a deer in headlights.
I actually thought she did a great job in this movie.
Yeah.
It was just some of the previous parts that I didn't like, but I thought X-Men First Class did a great job of just kind of retelling the story and setting it up and just crossing over the different standalone movies that came out of those.
Yeah. So, brings us up to this movie, X-Men Apocalypse. And going into see this movie, I was interested in where they would go with the story after Days of Future Past. Days of Future Past seemed to kind of retcon a lot of stuff, change it all, and so now it was kind of an open book. We could kind of go where we wanted to go, do what we wanted to do, and it was interesting to see where they were going to go with the story. As far as the casting, I will say, the First Class casting came back pretty much, and I love all of them. I love Michael Fassbender as Magneto.
Yes.
James McAvoy. Who would have thought that somebody could win our hearts over as Professor X from Patrick Stewart, other than James McAvoy?
I thought he stepped up even more so in this movie.
Yeah. He delivered a great performance. Jennifer Lawrence. What do you think of Jennifer Lawrence, Tiffany?
Well, I like her as an actress. I love her in a lot of her movies, and unfortunately, and I told you this weekend, I did think she did a good job. I do like her as Mystique, but I kind of agree with the Collider crew that when they did their review of this, I did feel that she kind of phoned in her portrayal. She wasn't in, she wasn't in the blue makeup very often, but it was even just the little bits. I loved her speech at the end, when she was telling, we're X-Men and we're this and that. But it was the in-between where she was just like she was just there for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought she was good. I like her portrayal of Mystique, but I just didn't feel that she was at her full potential. She just showed up for a paycheck.
I just think Jennifer Lawrence is kind of going there anyways. I mean, I've enjoyed Jennifer Lawrence. Don't get me wrong,
Yes.
okay? I mean, I've loved the woman's performances in
A
movies,
lot of her
you know,
movies.
in a lot of her movies up to this point. I mean, you can't knock the entire Hunger Games series.
No.
You know,
She's been great in a lot
but
of what
even
she's
towards
done.
the end of that, it was kind of like just like, oh, there's Jennifer Lawrence on screen. She's saying a bunch of stuff, being really, really serious, and then they go do some stuff. You know, and that's a little bit how her performance felt here.
Her last, I'd say, 5-10 minutes of the movie is what her whole 2
Yeah.
hours of the movie should have been.
Yeah.
Me.
So the cast coming back is just great. I've loved seeing this this evolution of the first class cast. And so and I love how, you know, in the last movie, you know, we got to see them interact a little bit with some of their counterparts.
Yes.
I really like that. I think that that's pretty cool. And I've enjoyed seeing how Raven's story has progressed.
Yes.
I mean, because having watched Rebecca Romijn before, you know, you would have never thought that there was all this backstory to these characters, and so I love how they've really fleshed that out. That's been really great to see. But you know, this movie, so it starts off with Apocalypse back in ancient Egypt. And they're going to transfer his body into another mutant because apparently that's how he keeps his powers going and gets more powers and collects powers of various mutants. And something goes horribly wrong because he gets betrayed by some of his followers and yada yada yada. The big explosion ensues and he gets
Yada yada, the best part.
yeah, oh, I'm sorry. So he gets buried underneath all the rubble, and he's there for a long, long time. And so then now you skip forward, and you know we'll just kind of gloss over some of these things because we don't have a lot of time. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but he basically he gets found.
Yes. And Rose Byrne was there.
And Rose Byrne was there, and Rose Byrne,
Yes.
you
Lovely
are a
portrayal.
tremendous asset to film. Thank you so much.
Whether it be from Bridesmaids and being, you know, stuck up, and then you
Yeah.
can do the funny, and then she's done the serious.
I mean, she's been in Neighbors. I mean, just a couple weeks
Yes.
ago, we go see Neighbors 2, and then you go see her in this role in X-Men.
two
I mean,
completely
she's
different ones, and she knocked it out of the park both times.
yeah. And here's a little movie trivia for some of you who may not realize this. Rose Byrne was in Star Wars, ladies and gentlemen, and so that's where she got her start. Was in Star Wars. So you gotta love her, right? So all that stuff goes on, and then you know he sets out to go find his 4 horsemen of the apocalypse because you can't have apocalypse without 4 horsemen. And the first that he finds, of course, is Storm.
Yes.
And you mentioned the young lady who plays Storm. She did a tremendous job.
I thought she did a great job.
Yeah,
She made me like the character again.
Oh yeah, I think she did a better job than Halle Berry. I mean, Halle Berry, I think, was just too much of a big name star.
Yes.
You know, she had some parts here and there, but you know, there was a lot of groaner lines that they gave that woman, unfortunately, in the X-Men
They
franchise.
left out
So
the cheese in this one, which was good.
yeah, and so she was really great. Now let's talk about Magneto. We pick up with Magneto
Yeah.
10 years after the events of First Class, and the guy is
What
trying
has
to pick up
happened?
the pieces, right?
Mhm.
Where is he, Tiffany, when we meet up with him?
He was pretty much, ironically, working in an iron mine, and he was not using
Smelt-
his powers.
smelting,
Yes.
smelting, yes.
But he wasn't using his powers. He was trying to be a normal guy, and he ended up having a wife and a child, a girl. And he was, you know, telling these stories of family, and he even had a little locket on his daughter's necklace that showed a picture of his parents from the first movie that he was in that showed him being, you know, ripped away from his parents during the Holocaust and stuff like that. But it was just, you could really feel for him that he has kind of like moved on from the bad guy stuff
Yeah.
and kind of started over and started a family. So it was very kind of cool to see at that point.
I gotta agree, and it was great to see callbacks to the original X-Men movies,
Yes.
where we know Magneto was, you know, had flashbacks of being taken from his parents, and so that was all really, really cool and just
Until
heart
stuff
wrenching.
got real.
Heart wrenching. He uses his powers to save
a guy,
a guy
in his work
in his work.
to
and-
get from being like pretty much melted.
Yeah,
because
and
of
then they realize who he is because of the events of First Class.
not, hey, you saved our guy. It's you used a power, and who are you?
Yeah, and so, man, or it wasn't First Class. I keep saying the events of First Class. I mean the Days of Future Past. Okay, so you don't have to correct me in the comments. I realize my own mistake. So he's trying to remedy that, but he saves this guy. They realize who he is, and then they come after him. And in the back and forth of all that, a guy accidentally shoots an arrow, and man, shoots it through both his daughter and his wife.
That was heart-wrenching. I think when that happened, I was like, and I just held my breath for a minute to see his response.
I literally gasped. I was like, no! And,
I thought it was just a daughter at first, but then when they panned the camera around and realized the wife was holding her, it was
and one thing you don't want to do is kill Magneto's family.
No.
Not a good idea at all.
Or he goes and he ends up killing the whole group of people with just a necklace.
Yeah, so here's the deal. So they move on, Apocalypse ends up finding his 4 horsemen. He finds Angel, turns him into Archangel, which I thought that transition was pretty cool.
That was.
He didn't really have much to say.
No, he just was an angry angel.
He was just an angry angel.
He had a busted wing thanks to...
Yeah. Now he has metal wings. So he's like a silver hawk. That's
so
pretty
when he gets angry, he can shoot metal feathers at people. And...
Yeah, and so then, of course, he gets Magneto to follow him, along with Storm and Psylocke. And Olivia Munn is an interesting choice for Psylocke. I don't really have a problem with it.
She looked like the character from the comic.
Yeah, I mean, she looks like the character. It's just a little strange to see Olivia Munn in a comic book movie. Having seen Olivia Munn on her old show, basically, cosplay and interview people at Comic-Con and do all that kind of stuff, and then to actually see her in a movie, it's kind of weird.
Maybe the fact that Apocalypse was, like, by hand making all of their armor, and she's like, nope, you can just wear a thong, that's good.
Hey, what are you going to do, right?
That's all the armor you need.
It's Olivia Munn. That's what everybody's been wanting to see for years. So, hey. So then all that stuff is going on, and the X-Men are kind of forming, and I love Nightcrawler.
He was one of my favorites.
I loved Nightcrawler in this movie. He was a
surprise favorite to me.
It was a great...
the fact that he wore the red Michael Jackson jacket.
Oh, yeah. And I got to say, the new cast...
Yes.
Now, let's talk about this, because they brought in a lot of new kids, a lot of new blood, to replace people like James Marsden and Farmcade Jensen and a couple others. What did you think of the new cast?
I was actually very pleasantly surprised, because sometimes when you take characters that you've known, good or bad, whether you liked their character before or not, like, I didn't like Storm from before, but I loved the new girl. I thought she stepped up and was great. But I also really liked who played Cyclops, the kid. He was struggling with his power, and he's like, I don't know how to handle this, and they're like, that's okay, we'll learn. But I also the one I was nervous about was actually... Wolverine. Jean Grey. Yeah, Wolverine's woman in the future.
Yeah.
Because she's a very hard person to kind of replace. She was a very confident, prominent woman, and you kind of saw her coming into that in this movie. And I think the girl that they chose did a great job in kind of stepping up and filling that role out.
I thought so too. I thought that the new kids coming in, Nightcrawler, Cyclops, and Jean Grey, I thought were great. The only issue I had with any of those is that, I mean, the young lady who played Jean Grey, she was great. And she would have been completely just fine with me if it wasn't for the fact that she looks completely different in every single way than Farmcade Jensen does. I mean, they didn't try. The new guy that they got to play Cyclops, you could actually see him growing.
Like he's a younger
kid. You could actually see him growing up into that. The kid that they got to play Nightcrawler, you could see him. The girl that they got to play Storm, you could see her growing up into it. Mm-hmm. Man, she had to
dye her hair and change a couple things.
Yeah,
she just,
because.
But she was still.
But Farmcade Jensen was a model. It was a supermodel coming. This Jean Grey just looked like a regular girl, and I'm fine with that. I'm not saying that she had to be a supermodel.
Lot of growing to do, and maybe that she'll grow into the body and just everything else that comes along with it.
Maybe, but it was very interesting to see that play out. Now, Wolverine shows up in this movie, full berserker mode.
Yeah. Which
I loved. I mean, he just goes and he's Weapon X, and I love how they remedied that situation from the X-Men Wolverine Origins movie. they kind of remedied that and fixed that a little bit and kind of showed a different, that something different was going on there. I loved how, the only thing I didn't like was how they just kind of telegraphed that was Wolverine. Right? Like, she's like, I sense something. It's like some kind of animal. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's Wolverine. We get it, yeah. Like some kind of weapon is back there.
It's Weapon X. We know.
Behind
open
the
the
door.
cage. Then he goes buck on everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, she could have just gone, just ravenous like a Wolverine. Something, I don't know. With a great body like Hugh Jackman. It was a little over the top for me, but I loved it. Once they showed him,
yes,
it was crazy. And I loved how she mind melded with him and did her little thing,
yes,
and gave him back some of his memories, and he was like, whoa.
But then he ran off like an animal, barefoot in the snow, which I thought was kind of funny and awkward, but still.
So Apocalypse, I've heard a lot of people complain saying, well, I didn't understand Apocalypse's reasoning, and I didn't like this. I got it. I mean,
he's old school, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to take over the world. He was going to destroy the world as we know it and rebuild it as his own.
And whoever was left standing meant they were good enough or strong enough to be able to stand with him.
Yeah, so I totally got it.
To guess. So what? Who cares?
I totally got it. I understood it. Now, my favorite character, hands down, in this movie, and I'm sorry, the couple of you out there who keep writing me, giving me a hard time about Marvel movies, and saying that I don't like Marvel, and I don't,
leave Marvel alone.
Leave Marvel alone. People. I've had a couple people write me and comment to me and tell me that like when I do a review of a Marvel movie that I don't put my heart into it, and I'm closing my eyes and I'm looking down and stuff. I love Marvel, okay? Stop it. I like Marvel movies, but I'm going to tell you something right now. This is a Marvel movie, and this is where, you know what? Even though it's a Marvel movie, I don't know how I could take flack for this, because I'm just telling you right now, the Disney Marvel movies, thank God they killed their Quicksilver, because this is now the second Fox version of Quicksilver that we've gotten, and I'm telling you right now, he blows that Quicksilver away. There is no comparison whatsoever. I don't need some fake Russian accent with my Quicksilver. You know what? I don't care why they had to introduce him. Thank God they put 12 bullets in him, because I love the Quicksilver from Fox. Yeah. He is hilarious. I love how they show him running. It's not
and then he just stops and moves things over.
Oh, I know.
He's just and changing their hat and just, I love that.
Oh man! And you know what I loved about it is because I'm a big DC guy, and we do all this stuff about the Flash, right? And so it's cool to see another character like the Flash, speedster. But to see him move in a totally different way with his speed and what he does, man.
Slowing it down and showing his humor, like my dad's Magneto. What?
I just love that.
My mom and Magneto. I know.
Oh, humor. Yeah, his humor. He is so 80s. He was so
playing Miss Pac-Man when they his first show today.
So my favorite part of the movie, hands down, Quicksilver. He just stole this show from me. But you know what? He's done the same in the past for me.
Yes.
And I just got
the first one.
Yeah, I just got to say, I love this version of Quicksilver. You can write me, you can tell me about how I just said that because I hate Disney Marvel movies and I'm a Batman versus Superman lover. And yes, I am a Batman versus Superman lover, and I'll tell you that to the day I die. But that has nothing to do with the fact that I love this Quicksilver over Disney's Quicksilver, and I think that there's a case that can be made to say that if Disney has made at least one flub up in their universe, it's their Quicksilver. Their Quicksilver is just not even a comparison to this one. So, moving on. So we get to the end of our movie. They're all fighting. They kind of go, they talk, there's a big fight that ensues that's really, really long. That was the only thing. I thought the fight was just...
It dragged on a little bit.
The fight just dragged on.
There could have been a bigger fight between Magneto and Apocalypse versus what ended up happening, but I digress.
Would have been nice, but, you get what you get, right? And so they fight, and then they convince Magneto that they are his family, that they are the people that he should be with.
He still has family because Quicksilver did not tell him, hey, by the way, you're my dad. So we still have that to look forward to.
So that's going to be cool. And then, they beat Apocalypse. They beat Apocalypse, But they beat him as a team.
Yes.
I love that. The X-Men came together as a team and beat Apocalypse, and that's the way it should be.
And Jean Grey also got her Phoenix powers. In the
Oh
process.
yeah, that was really cool to see too. I mean, just the fact that we know that can be something that may come later on. And Bryan Singer, who directed this movie and directed a lot of the other X-Men movies, except for First Class and of course Part 3 of The Last Stand, he has said that he would be interested in revisiting the Dark Phoenix series because it wasn't done very well in The Last Stand. And speaking of The Last Stand is actually the butt of a very funny joke in this movie, where it shows our young heroes, coming out of a movie theater,
Strikes Back,
having watched Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they were watching Return of the Jedi, and they were comparing it to The Empire Strikes Back. And Jean Grey makes the comment just as she walks past the camera that, well, the third one's always the worst usually. Yeah, we all knew what you were talking about there. Yeah, we got it.
And I also like the fact that in the process of Apocalypse trying to take over, the main guy, that he has had hair the whole time, and then all of a sudden in the transfer,
McAvoy. Yeah,
yes.
McAvoy. Yes.
In the transfer, though, it kind of like burned his hair off, so now they kind of had a reason and excuse
so now
to
we got,
make him bald.
That's right. So now we got bald Professor X going forward.
And he actually doesn't look that bad bald.
No, and you know what? It righted a lot of stuff and put a lot of stuff where it needed to be to go forward.
Which makes me excited of what's coming next now.
Oh yeah, I can't wait either. I mean,
and then they showed finally having Mystique kind of be the military, like, you're X-Men now. You're not, people that are just learning and how to use your powers, and I thought that was cool, just kind of seeing what's coming next, and then they shut the doors and you don't know what's happening. But
it's the danger room, baby. It's the danger room, man. They're fighting robots and everything else in there, so that's awesome.
I wonder now, with them training like that and getting full force into their powers, just to see what's coming next.
It was great to see them in uniforms, and finally to see a proper comic book accurate Cyclops visor.
Yes.
That was sweet. I absolutely loved that. That was really cool to see. And so, hey, you know what? I really enjoyed this movie. You could say whatever you want to about the X-Men franchise, but I really enjoyed it.
They're trying to finally get it straight, and it's working.
And I think they're finally doing a great job. I mean, they had Deadpool come out earlier this year, which is still somehow connected to this franchise.
Which would be awesome.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. They're talking about X-Force. They're talking about a New Mutants movie. Hey, a lot of great things could come out of this. So, Tiffany, when we break it down, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best and 1 being the worst, what would you rate X-Men Apocalypse?
I would actually give it a 4. It's not a full 5 to me, but I say it's a 4 just because the fight scenes at the end dragged out, and there were a couple things here and there, and Mystique's performance. But I still give it a 4 because it was very entertaining. I wasn't bored in the 2 hours that it was. I was very pleasantly surprised, and I was just excited to see the fight scenes, and not realizing with the makeup on, I was thinking, I gotta check IMDb when I'm done to find out who played Apocalypse, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, by the way, that was Poe Dameron. It was Oscar Isaacs, and I thought the makeup was so well done that I couldn't tell it was him at first.
Oh, he did a great job in this movie. It really,
the way his voice kind of came in and out of sounded like 4 voices at once, and it showed his power and just.
We saw him last year in Ex Machina. And
that's right.
The guy has got range. What can you say? Me personally, I also give it a 4 because I give it the old Ric Flair.
The 4 Horsemen.
Woo! For the 4 Horsemen, baby. That would have been a great in-joke to put in there at some point. Somebody's watching wrestling. Quicksilver's watching wrestling in the background with, Ric Flair going around, styling and profiling. That would have been awesome. But hey, I give it a 4 too for the exact same reason. So, hey, did you see the movie? What did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you give it a 4? Woo! For each Horseman? Maybe you add a 5th for Apocalypse. I don't know. 5th? I don't know. We'll have to see. Leave your comments down in the comments section. And thank you so much for joining us here this time. Hey, we got another one of these to do this week because we also saw Angry Birds.
Yes.
Yes. And I'll just say this. If you haven't seen Angry Birds, there is a Quicksilver reference. The good Quicksilver in Angry Birds. Loved it. All right. So for me, Enosh, a.k.a. Enosh Fett, and...
Tifftastic, a.k.a. Grand Tiff Tarkin.
All right. We will see you next time here on Spoiled.